me explain a bit about the excellence of this book. It was stated by the Sheikh, the Minister of Islamic Affairs in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Sheikh Saleh bin Abdul Aziz Al Sheikh, Hafidhahullah, may Allah Ta'ala preserve him. He said, وَكِتَابُ تَوْحِيد كِتَابٌ عَظِيمٌ جِدًّا. Kitab at-Tawheed is an amazing book, or a very great book. أجمع علماء التوحيد على أنه لم يصنف في الإسلام في موضوعه مثله. The scholars of Tawheed have united on the position or on the opinion that there has not been a book written in its topic similar to it. فهو كتاب وحيد وفريد في بابه. It is a unique and original book in its subject matter. لم ينسخ على منواله مثله. One that has not had the likes of it written before. لأن المؤلف رحمه الله فرق في هذا الكتاب مسائل التوحيد العبادة وما يضاد ذلك التوحيد من أصله أو من ما يضاد كماله. Because the author has done in this book, or has dealt with in this book, the issues of the Tawheed that relates to our worship to Allah. How Allah Ta'ala is one as it relates to our acts of worship. And what opposes that idea, and what negates a person's Tawheed, and what affects its completeness, or what causes it to be deficient. فامتاز الكتاب بسياق أبواب توحيد العبادة مفصلة مدللة. This book has become an exemplary book in how it is organized into chapters, dealing with details and evidences on the topics. وعلى هذا النحو بتفصيل وترتيب وتبويب المسائل وتبويب لمسائل التوحيد لم يوجد من سبق الشيخ إلى ذلك. For a book like this that has been organized so well and put into these kinds of chapters discussing the issues of Tawheed, there is no book that has preceded the muallif or the author in this book. فحاجة طلاب العلم إليه وإلى معرفة معانيه ماسة. So the need that students of knowledge have for this book and for the meanings contained therein is a dire one, or a very important need. لما اشتمل عليه من الآيات والأحاديث والفوائد. Due to what is in this book of ayat, ahadith, and benefits. And the Shaykh has also said in another occasion, or in another place, in his introduction, or in his explanation to Kitab at-Tawheed, he has said, فَكِتَابُ التَّوْحِيد كِتَابٌ عَظِيمٌ النَّفْعِ جِدًّا. So Kitab at-Tawheed is an extremely beneficial book. جدير بأن يعنى به عناية حفظ ودرس وتأمل. A book that deserves dedication to it by way of memorization, by way of studying, and by way of contemplation over what is in it. فالعبد محتاج إليه للعمل به. So every person is in need of this book due to, or so that he can act by it. وَلِتَبْلِيغِ مَا فِيهِ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ لِمَنْ وَرَاءَهُ مِنَ النَّاسِ. And so that he can convey the important meanings that are found in this book to those who are with him, those people he is responsible for, and those who are with him. سواء أكانوا في المسجد, whether they are in the masjid, أم في السوق, whether they're in the marketplaces, أم في البيت, or in the house, أم في مقر عمله, or if it's in his place of work, أم في أي جهة أخرى, or in any other place. والمقصود أن من فهم هذا الكتاب, he said the point here is, whoever understands this book, فقد فهم أكثر مسائل التوحيد العبادة, will understand the majority of all issues of Tawheed, of how that relate to how we are to worship Allah alone. بل يكون قد فهم أجل مسائله وأغلبها. Rather, or even more so, he will have understood the most important, the most those that deserve the most focus and those which are most common among the issues of Tawheed. But this book has been compared to Kitab at-Tawheed of al-Bukhari. Al-Bukhari, Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Ju'fi al-Bukhari, who died in the year 256, the author of the book Sahih al-Bukhari that you all know, and other books. Some scholars have compared Kitab at-Tawheed to Sahih al-Bukhari, saying it's written in a similar style and it is presented with the same strength and with the same passion or with the same organization that is found in the book Sahih al-Bukhari. And I will quote to you from the words of Sheikh Saleh al-Sheikh what leads us to understand that, or what is more specific about that point. وقد شبه بعض العلماء هذا الكتاب بأنه قطعة من صحيح البخاري رحمه الله وهذا ظاهر. Some of the scholars have said this book resembles, or it's as if this book is a section or a selection or a piece, a small piece of Sahih al-Bukhari. May Allah have mercy on al-Bukhari. And he said, and this is obvious. This point is obvious. ذلك أن الشيخ رحمه الله نسخ كتابه هذا نسخ الإمام البخاري صحيحه من جهة أن التراجم التي يعقدها تحتوي على آية وحديث غالبا. That's because the author, the Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah ta'ala, he has written the book just as Bukhari wrote his Sahih, just as Bukhari has written his book Sahih al-Bukhari, with how he organized the chapter into an ayat and a hadith, usually an ayat and a hadith. With an ayat, with a verse from the Quran as part of the introduction or as part of the chapter title. وَمَا بَعْدَهَا مُفَسِّرٌ لَهَا. And then what comes after the verse is an explanation of the verse, as we will see, insha'Allah ta'ala, chapter by chapter. وكذلك ما يسوقه رحمه الله من كلام أهل العلم من الصحابة أو التابعين أو أئمة الإسلام. Just similarly is how he brings the statements of the scholars, of the companions, and the scholars of the followers of the companions, and the imams of the Muslims. هو على نسق طريقة الإمام أبي عبد الله البخاري رحمه الله فإنه يسوق أقوال أهل العلم في بيان المعاني. It is done as Al-Bukhari, Abu Abdullah, had done his Sahih, bringing the statements of the scholars of Islam, explaining the meanings of the verse mentioned in the chapter title. So what exactly does this great book Kitab at-Tawheed contain? A preview of what is to come in these lessons, insha'Allah ta'ala. قال الشيخ صالح الفوزان Sheikh Saleh al-Sheikh rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, الشيخ رحمه الله بين فيه أصول دلائل التوحيد. In this book, the Sheikh clarified the evidences used to establish the correct understanding of Tawheed. وبين فيه معناه وفضله. And he explained or clarified with this book the meanings of Tawheed and the bounties and the excellence or the virtues of Tawheed. كما بين فيه ما يضاده والخوف مما يضاده. And he also explained what violates or negates that Tawheed, and what is or to be afraid of, the importance of being afraid of what opposes Tawheed. وبين أيضا أفراد التوحيد العبادة. He also explained the individual issues of Tawheed as it relates to how we worship Allah, one by one. وأفراد توحيد الأسماء والصفات إجمالا. And he explained some issues in a general way of the Tawheed of Allah's names and attributes. واعتنى ببيان الشرك الأكبر والأصغر وصورهما. And he also took care to clarify the meanings of major shirk and lesser shirk and their manifestations. وَالذَّرَائِعِ الْمُؤَدِّيَةِ إِلَيْهِمَا, and as well the things that lead to those two things, major shirk and minor shirk. وَبَيَّنَ مَا يُحْمَى بِهِ التَّوْحِيد, and he clarified in this book all of the things or many things that will protect a person's proper understanding of Tawheed. وَالْوَسَائِلِ إِلَى ذَلِكَ, and what will grant a person a means to attaining that. وَبَيَّنَ أَيْضًا شَيْئًا مِنْ أَفْرَادِ تَوْحِيدِ الرُّبُوبِيَّةِ, and he also expounded a little bit about the oneness of Allah as it relates to His Lordship, Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. Sheikh Abdul Rahman ibn Hassan ibn Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, the grandson of the Sheikh, who was a scholar in his own right and wrote his own explanation of Kitab at-Tawheed, that is famously referred to as Fath al-Majid. He said in his introduction, فَإِنَّ كِتَابَ التَّوْحِيد قَدْ جَاءَ بَدِيعًا فِي مَعْنَاهُ. Kitab al-Tawheed has stood out as a book that is original in its subject, مِنْ بَيَانِ التَّوْحِيدِ بِبَرَاهِينِهِ, because it explains Tawheed with all of its evidences, وَجَمْعِ جُمَلٍ مِنْ أَدِلَّتِهِ, and he gathered in this book a great number of proofs, لِإِيضَاحِهِ وَتَبْيِينِهِ, so that he could clarify that and make it easy and make it clear for the people. فَصَارَ عَلَمًا لِلْمُوَحِّدِينَ وَحُجَّةً عَلَى الْمُلْحِدِينَ, so it has become a signpost or a distinguishing sign of the people of Tawheed, and it has become a proof, a decisive proof against the people of ilhad, the people of deviation when it comes to Tawheed. فَانْتَفَعَ بِهِ الْخَلْقُ الْكَثِيرُ وَالْجَمُّ الْغَفِيرُ, and thus a large number of people, great masses of people, have benefited from this book.